Morning students. Today we are going to study transportation in plants. So have you ever thought that how do transport of water and food take place in tall trees? It is not possible just by the process of diffusion. So we need to have some other network which can transport these important substances from the root to the top of the trees. So let us study about these important processes. So transportation of materials in plants. First of all, you should know materials needed by the plant cells are gases like oxygen, carbon dioxide, water and minerals, which are taken from outside. So these materials, they are taken from outside, and other substances required are the organic food and the hormones synthesized by the plant cells distributed by the transport system. Okay, so two materials are there. First are the materials which are taken from the outside, and the other substances which are synthesized by the plant cells. Okay, so two important conducting tissues in plants are there, named xylem and phloem. So xylem transports water and minerals from roots to upward, and phloem transports the organic food and hormones to all parts of the plant. Xylem is a complex and dead tissue. It is made up of four kinds of cells: tracheids, vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fibers. Whereas phloem is a complex but living tissue. It is also made up of four kinds of cells: sieve tubes, companion cells, phloem parenchyma and phloem fibers. So if you talk about types of transportation, we have two types of transportation. First is water and minerals transportation, that we also call it ascent of sap. Okay, sap is combination of water and minerals. Okay, combination of water and minerals is called sap, and ascent of sap means the movement of the sap. And the other transportation is of food and substances, that is called translocation. So we have two terms here, ascent of sap and translocation. What is ascent of sap? The upward movement of water and minerals from the roots to other parts of the plant is called ascent of sap, and transport of food from the leaves to other parts of the plant is called translocation. Clear? Now see, we will talk about transportation of water and minerals first. So you came to know that transportation of water and minerals are done by the xylem tissue. Okay, so you can see here the components of xylem. Two important components of xylem are tracheids and vessels. So if you look at the diagram, these A are tracheids and B are vessels. So tracheids are the spindle shaped cells, and in that you can see pits are present. Pits are the small pores which are present through which the water travels. And if you look at the vessels, vessels are long tubes made up of series of cells. They have vessel element, and they also have small holes in them to pass the water from the lower part to the higher part, that are called perforations. Okay, so the names are different. In the tracheids the holes are called pits, and in the vessels the holes are called perforations. Now transportation of water and minerals involve three processes. First is absorption of water and minerals, second ascent of sap, and third, the last, is transpiration. First we talk about absorption of water and minerals. So how do roots absorb water? So main water absorbing organs are root hairs, and mineral absorbing organs are root epidermal cells. So water is absorbed by the root hairs and minerals are absorbed by the epidermal cells. So what happens is water molecules move from higher water potential to lower water potential, and then migrate from cell to cell, passing from the epidermis to the cortex, and from the cortex to endodermis, and from endodermis to xylem vessels and tracheids. So this kind of transport is called lateral transport. Okay, it is lateral, it is not vertical transport. So if you look at the diagram, this is a TS of a young dicot root showing a lateral transfer of water from the root here to xylem elements. So you have studied this structure in your 9th class also. So here water is absorbed by the root hairs. Okay, and because of, if there is less water in the root hairs, so just by the process of diffusion it is taking place. When there is less water in the root hairs and there is more water in the soil, so water gets absorbed by the root hairs by the process of simple diffusion. And you know that in the these parallel areas the concentration of water is also less there, so that's why it keeps on passing through the process of diffusion layer by layer. So from the epidermis it goes to the cortex, cortex to the endodermis, then to the pericycle, and then to the xylem and the phloem tissue, from the to the xylem tissue. Okay, now next is ascent of sap. Ascent of sap means the upward movement of the water and minerals. So here two theories are important here. Okay, so this is the important part now. So root pressure theory and transpiration pull and cohesion tension theory, these two theories are important in the ascent of sap. Now when you look at the bottom part of this plant, so here you know at the bottom root is there, and at the higher area we have leaves and the other branches are present. So now we have to transport the water from the root to the higher areas of the plant. So two theories are taking place here, root pressure theory and transpiration pull and cohesion theory. Okay, so what is root pressure theory? It is applicable in small plants. It is applicable in small plants, understand. So root pressure theory is applicable in small plants where the height of the plant is small, and transpiration pull theory is applicable in the tall trees. So what happened in the root pressure theory? Vessels and tracheids of the roots, stems and leaves are interconnected to form a continuous water channel reaching all the parts. So they form a continuous water channel which is reaching all the parts, and cells in contact with soil, they take up ions actively. Okay, first what is happening at the root level? So here first how it is going, how water is coming in. So here it is not just the process of diffusion, here active transport is taking place. Active transport means which requires energy, which need to use the ATP. Okay, so here first you know that the soil is rich in water and minerals. Okay, and the root area and the root hairs are deficient in water and minerals. So first what will happen, root hair, the epidermal cells, they will take the ions from the soil through active transport by using some energy in the form of ATP. Now ions will move into the epidermal cells. So what will happen, their concentration of ions will be there and low water potential will be created. So water potential is low now. So in the outside area there is high water potential. So what will happen, the water will also go into the root hairs by the process of diffusion. Okay, so first you know you will say that first active transport is going on here. So first by active transport, this root epidermal cells, they are taking up the ions, and the concentration of ions are increasing inside and it is low outside, and outside the water concentration is high and inside the concentration of water is low. So water also will go inside and then it will keep on passing to the other cells, other parallel cells. Okay, so root pressure theory says that cells in contact with soil take up ions actively. Actively means active transport, and creates a difference in the concentration of these ions. So I told you that there is a difference in the concentration which is created inside when the roots have taken up the ions. So inside the concentration of ions is more and outside is less, and root epidermal cells becomes rich in ions and water concentration goes less. Now you know that if one of the amount is high, the other has to be low. Now the root cells, they become rich in ions and water concentration goes less. So what will happen, water move into the root from the soil, creating a column of water that is pushed upwards by creating a pressure. So this pressure is created. That's why it is called root pressure theory. Next is transpiration pull theory. This is also very important. It explains the upward movement of water in tall trees. We have big trees also, tall trees. So like eucalyptus is there. So in that trees, we have to have some mechanism which can reach the water through, onto the top of the trees. So the water which is lost through stomata is replaced by water from the xylem vessels in the leaf. What is happening here? Just see. Xylem tracheids and vessels are dead cells and thick-walled. Tracheids have pits in their thick cell walls, as I've already shown you in the previous slides, through which water flows from one tracheid to another. The xylem vessels have perforations at the end walls and are placed one above the other, forming a continuous tube. So it is a series of cells, you can say, which is forming a continuous tube. The xylem of root are connected with that of stem, petiole and veins of leaves. So the xylem, all the xylems of the stem, petiole, veins, they are interconnected and they are making a long continuous channel, continuous network of tubes. Sap is moving in that continuous network of tubes, and sap moves to the top of the tree in this unbroken water column. So this pull is generated by the process known as transpiration. So when on the top of the leaves, transpiration is taking place, that means the loss of water through the aerial parts of the plant. So loss of water is there at the top of the tree, and there low water potential is created. So then at the down level, water is more, the root has absorbed the waters, so then it goes slowly step by step up higher on the top parts of the leaves, and loss of water in the form of vapors through transpiration is replenished by movement of fresh supply of water to the leaf. So this creates a suction which pulls the sap upward. So that suction force is created at the top of the tree through the process of transpiration. So transpiration is taking place at the top. So their void is created, that empty space is created because there is no water. So because of that, if there is one force, that is suction is created. Okay, that is called transpiration pull. What is pulling the water upside on the top? That is transpiration. So that's why it is called transpiration pull theory, which creates a suction and pulls the sap upward. Last step is transpiration. Already I've told you. So most of the water, listen now here, most of the water absorbed by the plants is ultimately lost into the atmosphere. You know how much water we give to the plants? Only 1 to 2% is used up in the photosynthesis and other metabolic activities. Most of the 90 to 98% of the water is lost by the process of transpiration or through the exchange of water vapors in the stomata also. Okay, so only 1 to 2% is used up by the plants. So you can define transpiration now. The loss of water in the form of vapors from the tissues of aerial parts of the plant is termed as transpiration. And it occurs by the process of diffusion through stomata. Under favorable conditions, leaf can transpire its own weight of water in less than an hour. So you can see that the rate is quite fast. Now, so we are done with the transportation of water and minerals, that is called ascent of sap. So that is done. Now the second part is transportation of food and other substances. So as I told you earlier, that transportation of food takes place through the tissue that is called phloem. Okay, and in this, one very important theory is there, that is called mass flow hypothesis, or you can also call it pressure flow theory. Okay, now listen to this very carefully. What is happening here? So if you look at the diagram carefully, you have two long tubes. One is the xylem and the next is the phloem. Okay, xylem transports water, phloem transports food. Now you know the structure of the phloem. It has sieve tubes. So this long tube which you can see of the phloem, it is a sieve tube and it has a segments. You can see that. So these segments are cells of, these are called sieve cells. Okay, so sieve cells. So sieve tubes are made up of continuous arrangement. Series of sieve cells are placed one above the another to form a phloem tube. And you know that companion cells are also present in the phloem. So along with the sieve tubes, you have companion cells. Okay, these are the companion cells which are present here, and parallel to that is your leaf cell. Okay, and if you look down here, so again same, here we have sieve tubes, phloem part, then companion cell, and this is the root cell. So we have, what is our source? Source is, which is giving us food, where the food is synthesized, that is your leaf cell. So leaf cell is a source, and we have to transport this food into the sink. This sink is a root cell. Okay, so we have to transport the food from the source to the sink, from the leaf cell to the root cell, because leaves are preparing the food. Okay, so now what will happen? You know that leaves prepare the food by the process of photosynthesis. Okay, and they store it in the form of starch. So the main form, first they convert glucose into sucrose. Okay, sucrose is the soluble form in which is travel in the plant. So first of all, glucose is produced. So glucose is converted into sucrose, and you can see here these red dot structures are the molecules of the sucrose. So they are synthesized in the leaves, and then parallel to that is the companion cell. And companion cell, there is no sucrose now, so that's why you know that there is wherever higher concentration is there, and molecules always moves from higher concentration to lower concentration. And if here active transport also takes place. Why active transport? Because the sucrose has to pass through the membrane. Okay, so leaf cell has a membrane. Okay, epidermis is there, and the companion cell also. So these are two different cells. This is a leaf cell and this is a companion cell. So when you have to pass two different cells crossing the membrane, that requires energy. Okay, so here ATP is used, so that you can say that here sucrose is transported from the leaf cell to the companion cell through active transport. We need some energy here to pass the sucrose into the companion cell. So active transport is taking place by the utilization of ATP. Now from the companion cell, it is going into the sieve tubes. Okay, so this is simple by the process of diffusion, because these are the same, these are the phloem cells, so these are different, same types of cells. Okay, so here they are going into the low concentration areas. This phloem, the sieve tubes have low concentration of sucrose, companion cell has more, so it goes, all the sucrose molecules, they go into the sieve tubes. Now in the sieve tubes we get more concentration of sucrose. Now as you can see, so many red dots are there, these all red dots are sucrose. So lot of concentration of sucrose has accumulated here. Now what will happen? Now if there is more sucrose, so then low water potential will be created. Okay, so you know that this is a theory, when one thing is more, the other thing become less. So here concentration of sucrose increases and the concentration of water decreases, low water potential is created. Then what happen? Side to the phloem, xylem vessels are also there, xylem tubes are also there. So from the xylem tubes, water is passed to the phloem tissues through the process of osmosis. Okay, they have to pass through the membrane. These are two different cells. So water is passed, because there is low water potential now in the phloem tissue. Okay, sucrose is there, less water is there, so water will pass from the xylem to the phloem. So now both have here is accumulation of both. Now water is also there, sucrose is also there. So now you know that when too many things are concentrated at one point, so pressure is created. So now here water is also there, sucrose is also there, so pressure is created, and due to that pressure gradient, the molecules of sucrose and water, they will start moving down to the areas of less pressure. Okay, so high pressure is created, they will move to the areas of less pressure, and already there is no sucrose, so they also need sucrose. Because of the pressure gradient, they will move down and again further more down, because they are moving because of the pressure gradient. Okay, they have to stabilize the pressure, and they have to equalize the concentration of the sucrose and water everywhere. Okay, so now, so along with sucrose, water is also moving down. Okay, so here again now the upper part is becoming empty, and all the sucrose and the water molecules, they are coming down, and finally they are reaching at the bottom, and from the bottom again they are entering the companion cells. Okay, so here because of the less concentration, they are going there into the companion cell. Now from the companion cell, it has to go to the root cell, so again they have to cross the membrane. So here again some energy is required. So again active transport, energy is required in the form of ATP, and then the sucrose and the water molecules goes into the root cells. Okay, so now here this water which is left here in the bottom part of the phloem, so that water again goes back into the xylem, because here again now more concentration of water is there. So food is taken up by the root cell, and water is left in the phloem tube only, and so this water is again going back to the xylem vessels. So this process is going on. So water is entering from the up part where the concentration of sucrose is high, coming down with the sucrose, and at the bottom sucrose is required by the root cell. It enters to the root cell, and water is left behind, so this water again goes back into the xylem vessels. So here you can see in the upper part, here phloem loading is taking place. Phloem means phloem is getting loaded with sucrose and water. Okay, then transport of sucrose and water is taking place down, okay, downwards, and then at this point, at the bottom point, again phloem unloading is taking place. Okay, so what process is going on? Phloem loading, and down phloem unloading. Phloem unloading means sucrose is going to the root cell and water is going to the phloem xylem cells. Okay, so here phloem is again empty, so phloem unloading. So this is how mass flow hypothesis takes. Mass means something in large amount, that we call mass flow. So something in large amount, sucrose and water in large amount is creating a pressure, and it is going downwards. Okay, so that's why it is called mass flow hypothesis. I think it is clear now. So let us read some points here. Active transport of sugar, that is carbohydrates, into the phloem. Active transport means it requires energy. Active transport is the movement of molecules across a membrane against a concentration gradient, requires energy. Okay, so here they require energy, they are going against the concentration gradient. Water follows by osmosis. Okay, I told you that from the xylem water enters into the phloem by osmosis. Pressure gradient moves fluid down phloem. So here pressure gradient is created, too much of rush is there of sucrose and water, pressure gradient is created and moving down, and then active or passive transport of sugar into the root cell. So it depends here that whether active or passive transport can take place. Then again water follows by osmosis. So this is important theory, mass flow hypothesis. So in your bookish language, in your NCERT book, this language of this theory is given. So let us go through this also. So transportation of food and other substances, they have written translocation is achieved by utilizing energy. I told you, just try to relate the points with what I have told you just now. So translocation is achieved by utilizing energy in the form of ATP. Sucrose synthesized in the leaf is transferred to the phloem tissues using energy. Energy is written, it is energy from ATP. Okay, I think you can picturize the things, the diagram which we have read just now, which we have understood just now. So by reading the diagram, just bring all that pictures and diagrams in your mind. So sucrose synthesized in the leaf is transferred to the phloem tissues using energy from ATP. It increases the osmotic pressure of the tissue, causing water to move into it. Pressure moves the material in the phloem to the tissues which have less pressure. It allows the phloem to move the material according to the plant's needs. Okay, so these are the three important theories which we have read: root pressure theory, transpiration pull theory, and mass flow hypothesis. These three theories are important. I hope it's clear to you. Okay, so go through them again, read the book matter also, and complete the assignment also. Thank you.